Bob Larson. Bob Larson is, despite what you might think based on this image, not in fact a Catholic priest of any kind, though he LARPs as one. Bob Larson is, in my opinion, a grifter who pretends to do exorcisms and charges people to do said exorcisms. He usually does these in hotel conference rooms, and it's usually very funny. He often talks about specific air quote demons. One of his favorites is Jezebel. He also thinks other gods from different religions are demons, like Thor. He's exorcised Thor before. All sorts of stuff. Princess Amelia says Bob Larson. Yeah.
Welcome to this edition of the Exorcist Chronicles. Let me say in advance that what you are about to see is something perhaps small children should not observe. Please use discretion. In a recent seminar, I gave a general appeal at the end of my message for those who felt stirred by something internal which might be demonic. I asked them to come forward for prayer. The first person that I spotted in need of ministry was a woman in deep anguish and pain. She shared the story of her teenage son, who some years before had been murdered. But as she talked about the circumstances of the...
See, this is what pisses me off. Not only about Bob, but people who claim to be like psychics or mediums or anything like that. They prey on people who've suffered tragedy or people who have trauma, and instead of actually helping these people, which could be done through like therapy, or in the case of like unsolved crimes, actual decent investigation to get closure, instead, charlatans, who Bob is, in my opinion, come along and they say, don't worry, you have emotional trauma? I have some snake oil that'll fix that right up. It's bullshit. It's bullshit to line their own pockets, and it's disgusting. Bob better hope that his fucking Catholic priest thing is just a LARP, not only for him, but for everyone else. Because if there is a hell, this guy's gonna be there. I guarantee it. Felicia Angel says, The Exorcism Chronicles, because he saw something in the 70s and said, I can use that.
The killing. I begin to sense there was more to this than an act of cruelty and violence. It was systematic. It was ritual. I asked her what her ancestry was, and we were able to trace this back to...
there is use of the G word in this, just so everyone knows. G word as in, like, not so nice word for Romani peoples. Just a heads up, if that bothers you.
Ancient times. Linking the evil of her ancestors to this horrible, horrible incident from which she was still trying to recover and living in deep grief. Watch very carefully how this story unfolds and how the Holy Spirit led me to get to the root of this issue so that this woman could be freed not just from the pain she was suffering, but to understand why it happened, put it into context, and be delivered from the demons that possessed her because of a murder committed on her son.
He's gonna blame the murder on demons. I guarantee it.
What is your first name?
Amy.
Hi, Amy. Are you married?
I am.
Children?
Yeah.
Tell me about the one that was murdered.
He was
Oh, God.
17.
Nick says willing to bet money Jezebel is the demon. Maybe. This might be a different thing. I don't know.
And he was taken out by two friends in the desert, and he was executed.
Why?
We don't really know. We just know that they judged him.
What?
I'm sorry, I got my teeth removed a couple days ago.
That's okay. Don't worry.
I didn't want to miss you, though.
Go ahead.
This poor woman. This poor woman has clearly been through, like, so much shit. Someone says she's an actor in the chat. I don't know that to be the case. Sometimes it seems like he brings on actors, but he does have actual people who pay to come and be exorcised by him. So they're not all actors and actresses. I'm going to, for the sake of this, unless there's compelling evidence otherwise, assume she's a real person. Because if she is, this is severe and disgusting. Like, this woman has clearly been through so much trauma and losing a child. Not only just losing, but to, like, a violent crime and doesn't understand why. And this absolute piece of human filth is going to scam her and take her money to lie to her? Bob Larson, what is wrong with you? You sick, sick man. Jesus.
They took him out and they
It's frustrating too, because like I grew up religious. I'm not religious anymore. I don't believe, in any particular faith. Don't care if you do, as long as you're not using it to hurt anyone. Bob Larson is using religion to hurt people. He's using it to take their money and lie to them. And not only that, one of the 10 commandments is not to take the Lord's name in vain, right? A lot of people who went to church and stuff or had parents who were religious might be like, what, take name in vain, like swearing? No! For some reason, the church decided at some point that taking the Lord's name in vain means swearing, or at the very least, parents started saying that to their kids in order to get them to stop saying, like, God damn it, or oh my god, or whatever. No, that's not what taking the Lord's name in vain is. Taking the Lord's name in vain is what people like Bob Larson do, what people like Joel Osteen do, using the name of God, the Christian God, in order to enrich themselves for ulterior motives. He's literally breaking a fucking cardinal sin. Again, I don't believe there's a hell. I really don't. I don't think there is. But Bob Larson makes me wish there was. Fuck him.
executed him in cold blood, and they shot him. And
You did what?
they shot him in the chest, and then they put him out like a dog.
I need a couple of ladies from the church, prayer people, some people, mature people who know what they're doing. Come over here. Come here quickly.
Need a couple mature people who know what they're doing. I think you're gonna have a problem finding that in your audience, Bob, and you're certainly not qualified.
Come quickly. And I need some men to grab her. Okay. So I need to show you guys how to do the Bob Larson grab. Here. Hold this. A hand like this and a hand like this. What is your girls for? Yeah, like that. That's the way you hold people. Okay. I need another man behind her.
Yeah, let's restrain the woman who's going to have a complete breakdown because of the fantasy you're feeding her. This should go well.
Need another man behind her.
Yeah, Bob perfected the Bob Larson grab long before he got into this business, believe it or not. It's handy for multiple different situations.
Okay, lift her up. Now, when I get into a mode like this, I shout orders. It's just like, I got to do this, I got to do this, got to do this. I'm not being rude. It's just I have to work with people in a certain way. Come up here, Amy. Okay, I need a man behind her. Got one. Grab her shoulders. Keep her hair back. Grab her shoulders like that, kind of just to hold her so she can't go back. And I may need another guy to grab the legs in a minute. Okay, look at me, Amy. How long ago was this?
8 years.
8 years. Have you gotten grief? You haven't gotten any grief counseling?
No.
In fairness, it could be a financial issue. It certainly is probably cheaper to go to Bob and pay a couple $100. Last I checked on his website, I guess I should probably check again. I'm not positive exactly how much he charges at this point. Let's see. Bob Larson, seminars. I don't know how much he charges to get into his seminars. No. But I know on his website he charges a lot for consultations. Let me see if I can get to a shop page or if that's a different website. Freedom encounters, sure. So his freedom encounters cost a bunch of money, and in person, like if you want to pay Bob Larson to come and exorcise you, it costs $695 for 50 minutes. Yeah. Not good. If you want a virtual encounter, which is literally just Bob Larson sitting on like a Zoom call and exorcising you through the internet, he charges almost $400. You could buy a PS5 for the price Bob is charging for his bullshit. But still, that's cheaper than years of grief counseling or therapy or whatever. And unfortunately in this country, mental health is often stigmatized and it's very expensive. Sometimes insurances, if you're lucky enough to have insurance, doesn't cover stuff like that. So instead, people, unfortunately, get left to people like Bob, who are just going to take advantage of them. And it's sick. It is sick.
And nobody's ministered to you about this. So what has this done to your life?
It's ruined it. It's hurt me deeply. I have generational traumas. I have gypsy blood. I have demons in me. I know I do.
Okay. What's your ethnicity?
Half Dutch and half Italian.
Well, that'll do it.
Let's roll that tape back. What?
Demons in me. I know I do.
Okay. What's your ethnicity?
Half Dutch and half Italian.
Well, that'll do it.
Is there something inherently demonic about the Dutch that I'm unaware of? What? What the fuck do you mean that'll do it? What? Like you hear someone's Dutch or Italian and you go, you probably have a demon. What the fuck?
Bring her forward a little bit. I don't want her getting back there. Okay. Now, Amy, I'm going after this thing. I know it doesn't seem fair. Look at me.
H. Baird with 45-bit says, those wooden shoes are forged by Lucifer himself.
You have a spirit of death and murder.
That's Good Beard TV says, there's only two things I hate in this world. People who discriminate by other people's cultures, and the Dutch. I've also seen Austin Powers Gold member. Tea with Goblins says, I mean, have you tasted Dutch salted licorice? Pretty demonic to me. And Overthought says, he means demon, definitely the Dutch. I don't get that joke.
I'm going to need some Kleenex. I'm going to need a basket of some kind. Okay, all right. Have Kleenex tissue? I need Kleenex tissue. Okay. I'll teach you guys Bob Larson style deliverance here. Kleenex tissue, oil, cross, Bible, ready. Okay, Amy.
Okay.
Part of this is just the immense release of grief to finally be talking to somebody who can have a pastoral concern for you. And it's very brave of you to talk about this. So that's part of it. But just trust me to walk you through this. I don't want your help. I want you to just be neutral and ask the Lord in your mind to be in his presence. It's like undergoing an anesthetic in the hospital for surgery. You keep letting her back up. Don't let her back up. Okay? Keep your head up and your eyes on me. That's crucial. Murder and death. Cross. This didn't just start with her son now, did it?
He's gonna blame demons for her son being murdered.
I need quiet around me, please. Didn't just start with her son. I'm talking to murder and death. I'm going to put this sword through you. You think that bullet in her son felt bad?
Holy fucking shit, Bob. Fuck you.
Fill that. Fill that. Get up and look at me, murder and death. So, the Dutch or the Italians, which was it, murder?
Excuse me? Let's roll that one back. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on.
The Dutch or the Italians, which was it, murder?
I think Grandpa's a little too old and racist for this grift. I think even people in the audience are probably like, what the fuck?
I asked a question, the Dutch or the Italians? Italians.
Nick with 45 bits. So hypothetically, if someone were to sucker punch Bob during an exorcism, could they get away with it and claim it was the demon? It's probably why he has people hold him.
Rome. I asked a question.
Bob, you're literally dressed as a Roman Catholic priest. Don't co-opt that identity and then shit talk Catholicism.
Does this go to Rome? Does it? Does it? Does it?
Yes.
Oh my, we're way back now, aren't we? But they were a bloody lot, weren't they? Barbaric.
Princess Amelia says, did Bob Larson or someone who works for him really see this and go, yes, this is definitely going on the YouTube channel? Apparently.
Godless and
This is one of the better ones. Imagine how bad the bad ones go that he doesn't post.
idolatrous. How many generations, death and murder? Answer me. Answer me. How many generations? Look at me. Look me in the eye and answer me. How many generations back to Rome? How many?
It's always funny to me when he asks people how many generations back and then, like, a specific time period. Because you can tell that, and I don't blame them, I'd be bad at estimating this too. People are really bad at estimating generations and how many generations it takes to get from, like, one era to another when they're, like, thousands of years apart. So sometimes they'll say numbers that are way too big, and sometimes they'll say numbers that are way too small.
How many?
She's thinking about it, because she's got to think in her head, like, oh shit, Rome. When was Rome? Like, ancient Rome? How far back would that be? How many generations would that be?
How many? How many? Say it clearly. How many? How many? How many generations? How many? Sounds like 70. What, is it 7?
70 generations. Okay, let's say... that might actually be close. Let's take a look. 70, let's say an average lifespan of 35 years. Just taking into account that there's going to be more or less 2,450. Yeah, she actually got pretty close. Not bad.
70. 70. 77. That's what I got. Get your eyes open and look at me, murder and death. Blood sacrifice 77 generations ago in Rome. This thing with her son was just a setup job, right? This was already set up.
Do you think in Bob's fucked up sick mind he thinks he's actually doing these people a favor by charging them to lie to them? Because in his mind he probably thinks, well, I'm giving her closure. Sure, it might not be true, but it's closure for her. fucker.
Who did those Romans sacrifice to? What god? I want the name of the god they sacrificed to, or I'm going to pierce you with the sword of the Spirit. Who was it? Who was it? Lucifer, but in what form? Roman form was Lucifer worshipped. What form? What god? Come on.
Can she think of a Roman god? It's always interesting the questions he chooses to ask. Yeah, her trying to come up with a Roman god, yeah. Why assume she knows a Roman god? She might not. She came to this thing. I'm not trying to shit-talk people here. They're vulnerable people. But if you're going to an exorcism like this, your educational level statistically is going to be lower than probably average. How many Roman gods does she know off the top of her head? I guess we're gonna find out.
What was that? What was...
I think at some point, if she can't come up with one, he'll probably say one and say, was it blank? And she'll be like, yeah.
The god worshipped.
Just name a planet? Yeah. Again, you're assuming she knows the planets are named after Roman gods, though, and I don't know if she knows that.
Who was it? Who? Who was the god worshipped by the Romans?
I feel like I'm watching Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader?
Who was it? It was less to pick on. And then they adopted the Greek gods, too.
He's basically doing the opposite of cold reading in that he's trying to feed her lines. So she's like, I can't think of a Roman god. So he goes, yeah, they adopted the Greek gods, you know, so she can say it widens. It basically doubles the amount she could pick from. If she doesn't know a Roman god, she must at least know Zeus, right? She must at least know, you know, Hermes or something. So he expands it to Greek gods as well.
Was it a Greek god?
This is why you don't like improv? Yeah, I'd be really good at this. If Bob picked me and I was in his audience, I'd be great at pretending to be a demon.
A Roman god, answer me.
Which god are you? I'm Ishtar! Ah!
Was it Greek or Roman? Answer me.
Roman.
Roman. Who?
Oh.
I feel like I'm watching someone fail a pop quiz.
Who was the god? Who was the goddess?
I don't
Who was it?
wanna leave.
Who was it? Answer me. Who was it? Death and murder, look at me. And Satan. Now, Satan, you don't get directly involved in these things. You had an intermediary, which was worship back in ancient Rome, right? Who was it?
Fucking say anything. Say Hades. Who cares? Surely you've seen the movie Hercules. At least say something from the movie Hercules.
Get your eyes open.
I'm surprised he hasn't fed her a name yet. Normally by this point he's like, was it Hades? Was it Saturn? Was it, you know, he'd give her an escape rope from the question.
Look at me. The sword of the Spirit by Hebrews 4:12, I divide soul and spirit, and I keep this woman out of it, and I take that sword of the Spirit in ancient soteria.
This is why, another reason why I don't think she's an actress. I think it's like an instant stooging situation. I don't believe that she's an actress, because if she was an actress, he would have given her, like, hey, say this name, you know? They would have had a better routine worked out.
Oh, Satan.
Well, okay, we'll take that.
She can only think of Satan. She knows no Roman or Greek gods. There are so many to name. She can't name a single Roman or Greek god, which is fine. You know, whatever. She doesn't have to. It's just funny to me that Bob tried so hard and he couldn't get one out of her. Again, this is one that went well enough that they uploaded it to YouTube. Imagine how bad the bad ones go. It would have been hilarious if she said Thor or something that is not a Greek or Roman god.
The only legal right you have is none, but you have a stronghold through her grief and through her questioning of God and some loss of faith. Well, who wouldn't if your son was tortured and shot in this kind of way? But you're not going to use...
She probably actually believes she has demons. Oh, I'm sure she does. I'm sure she actually believes that. But she still has to consciously or unconsciously come up with a name of a god, and if she doesn't know it, she doesn't know it. I don't think she's faking. I think she's being instant stooged and doesn't know it.
Use that.
It's like stage hypnotism. People go along with it, and some actually, you know, think they're being influenced, but really they're doing it, you know?
Spirit of Satan and Lucifer, look at me. Other than the strongholds of her grief, the doubts that she had, the anger she had that she processed, do you have the right to be there? Speak up and tell me yes or no. Say it.
No.
Well, then you have to go. So the spirit of Satan and Lucifer, death and murder. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me, spirit. Look at me. Get your eyes open and look at me. Why was he murdered? Why was he murdered? Drug deal gone bad? Sacrifice to Satan? Was he a sacrifice? Was he?
They crucified him.
What? Huh? Crucified him.
I don't think that's what she said.
Oh, that really is a sacrifice to Lucifer, isn't it?
So now this lady's gonna go through the rest of her life believing her son was murdered over a satanic sacrifice? Good fucking lord, this guy's a piece of shit.
They needed it. A blood sacrifice to Lucifer.
And she knows, I assume she knows her kid wasn't crucified. No one fucking crucifies people to kill them anymore. Like, what?
Get up and face me. Get up and
It's
face
not an efficient method of murder.
me. Your time of judgment has come.
There was a pretty specific reason the Romans did crucifixion. It wasn't just for funsies. The brutality was I'm not going to say it's a necessity, but they felt it was a necessity. The Roman Empire was pretty brutal and fucked up. The Roman Empire was huge, right? So in order to keep people from doing, like, uprisings and stuff, you know, it's not a globalized civilization like today. You can't, you know, mobilize troops instantly. So if you want to stop people from trying to take back their land from the Roman Empire, they know that the Romans probably couldn't get troops there right away if some big conflict broke out. But they need to know when we do show up, it's going to be really bad for you. Thus the brutality of things like crucifixion. It's to keep people in line. It's not right, it's fucked up, disgusting, and barbaric, but that is sort of the practical reason behind it. They ruled with, like, an iron authoritarian fist because they felt they needed to in order to continue to occupy the territory that they did.
Get your eyes open and look at me now. Get your eyes open and look at me. So who's going to do the speaking here? The spirit of Satan? The spirit of Lucifer? Or somebody else? Do I need to put that sword through you again? Who's going to speak on behalf of this kingdom? Answer me. Who?
Jesus! Jesus speaks!
Jesus. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Look at me. Look at me.
I'm coming out.
No, you're not going anywhere till I tell you to go. Oh.
She's trying to take over this storyline, and he's not letting her. Princess Amelia with 45-bit says, crucifixion was meant as a public display that justice was being done. Of course, once the Roman Empire became Christian, they stopped doing that. They started doing public hangings instead.
Wait a minute. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. Spirit of Antichrist. Spirit of Antichrist. That's why he was crucified. Spirit of Antichrist, get up and look at me. Say, I, the spirit of Antichrist. Say it.
The Antichrist isn't even a thing in the Bible. The Antichrist is used to describe anyone who is anti-Jesus, anti-Christ. It's not a person, it's a descriptor.
Say, I, the spirit of Antichrist. Say it. Say, I, the spirit of Antichrist.
I have the spirit of Antichrist.
Bind myself. Bind myself.
Bind myself.
To the spirit of Satan. To the spirit of Satan. To the spirit of Satan. Say it.
Satan.
Lucifer.
Lucifer.
Death and murder. Death and murder.
Death and murder.
And blood sacrifice.
And blood sacrifice.
We lift the curse on this woman. Say, we lift the curse on this woman and her family. Say it.
And lift the curse of this woman.
And her family.
And her family.
This guy fallen with 100 bits says, crucifixion was reserved for people guilty of treason and sedition and other anti-government activity. It wasn't an ordinary punishment. Josephus reports hundreds of Jewish rebels crucified along with the roadside after a failed insurrection in Jerusalem. Antiquities of the Jews. Perhaps Jesus was one of them. Yeah. Jesus was definitely crucified because he was considered a political dissident. He was a radical. Whoever he was based on was probably quite radical at the time, bucking against not only the actual Jewish authorities, the Pharisees. Again, I'm basing this off the Bible and what we can suss out of the story and the actual historicity from it, which is... But, yeah, he was clearly someone who riled people up, and the authorities didn't like that.
Okay, keep her up, keep her up, keep her up. If you have to get a hold of her behind, I want her straight up looking at me. Look at me. Look at me. Hold that arm. Hold it like that. Look at me, spirit of Antichrist. My. What do we have here? Outstretched arms. I put a nail in that hand. I put a spiritual nail in that hand.
Okay, so you just told this lady that her son was crucified as a satanic sacrifice, and now you're going to mime crucifying her. Cool.
And I nail the feet. And I take a spear to the side. And I put a crown of thorns on your head to torment you. Just so you know, that's not done for theater.
It is.
It's not done for drama.
All of it's drama bullshit.
I don't try to cast demons out until I feel like I have torn them down, weakened them to the greatest possible extent. So in the spirit realm, what I'm doing is to this demon what it did to her son. And that reverses the process. It's not just psychodrama, but it's literalizing it in the spirit realm to break the curse of what was done and how
Bob's performing magic. He's a witch. Burn him.
he was killed and the reason he was killed
Nick says, baby kitty feet.
as a sacrifice to the spirit of Antichrist. All right, Antichrist, get up and face me. Not much of you left, is there? Say, I, the spirit of Antichrist.
Spirit of Antichrist.
Bound to death and murder. Bound to death and murder.
Bound to death and murder.
Lift the curse of murder.
Youth Goblin says, always look on the bright side of life. I wish I was better at whistling. A little better.
That's the curse of murder.
77 generations.
77.
Roman blood sacrifice
Blood sacrifice.
to false gods.
False God.
With no more right. With no more right. Say it.
All right.
This kingdom of evil is judged. Is judged.
It's just.
Now, you guys didn't help me out very well last time. Everybody down here, y'all get in on this. When I cast this thing out, you come on. In unison, you pray together and tell this thing to go. Get your head up and look at me. Get your head up, Antichrist. Look at me. See, we are judged.
We're judged.
By he who was crucified. By he who was crucified. Say it.
By you was crucified.
For the sins of the world. And rose from the dead.
Altered Rin with a link says, is this what Bob thinks he does to the demons? Oh my god. Fucking anime! No JoJo's Bizarre Adventure.
And rose from the dead.
Banned.
And rose from the dead.
All this is tactical to wear this thing down by making it say and confess to the very things that the nature of what it is doesn't want to say.
It's gay anime. It's Anna gay.
Look at me, Antichrist. I take a threefold cord from Ecclesiastes 4:12 and I bind you to Lucifer, the spirit of Satan, death and murder in all of them. Say, I, Antichrist, with this kingdom, with this kingdom, go now.
Oh, no.
Two. Say two. Vow. Say vow. Say vow. Pit. Say pit. Say pit, clear. Say pit. Say pit.
Narnia Owl says, now I want to see fan art of Bob Larson's stand. I don't know what that means.
Say pit. Say pit. No, get your head up and look at me. You're going to say pit. Say pit. Say it. Say pit. Say pit. No, say pit. Say it. Say it.
Pit.
Come out there. Go. Come on, help me out. Go. Go in the name of Christ. Go.
Hydrate.
Go. Go. Go.
I hate this man. I really do.
She's a little bit shaky.
No, Niall Naomi never emailed me back. I don't think he's gonna. Especially after, like, today I released 3 videos making fun of him on my YouTube channel. There's no way he's gonna get back to me in any positive way.
Look at me. The peace of God, the presence of Christ, the comfort of the Holy Spirit be upon you in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit to fill you where this evil was. Lord, let the Holy Spirit come down. 77 generations of evil and blood sacrifice cleansed now by the power of Christ. Receive it, Amy. Receive healing for the grief and torment. Lord, somehow show her the loss of her son will not have been in vain. That even right now, watching all over the world, there are people who are going to be set free from the same grief and the same pain, the same curses of murder because of her. That what she has done is redemptive. Let her sense that, Lord. Let it heal her soul. Let's just give the Lord a hand and thank him.
Seriously, Bob Larson is scum. Bob Larson is absolute scum. He takes advantage of people who are desperate, people who are uneducated, people who are taken in by the supernatural, and he takes their money and gives them nothing. He's garbage. Luckily, he's quite elderly, so I don't think we'll have to deal with him for very much longer. So, that's that.